This short video is going to be about the types of paints that we can use on different types of substrate. Right? There's a huge amount of different paint products over there, so we will just cover the basics. All right? So the learning outcome from this, okay, would be so that you guys can identify what sort of paint goes on what substrate in what order. Paint is a layered system. One coat does not cover all. Right, so we need to be able to, as decorators, distinguish what primer goes on what surface and then what coats of paint will follow that primer. So first thing we need to do is identify the substrate. That is the thing we are going to paint. Right, it could be wood, metal, plaster, plasterboard, blockwork, the list goes on and on and on. So we're just going to cover a few of the primers to start with and a few of the mid coats and top coats. Let's just start with some metals first of all. Different types of metals, ferrous, non-ferrous, rusty, non-rusty. So we need different primers for these particular metals. Now for aluminium and galvanized metals, we have something called Morton solution. This, as you can probably hear, is very, very watery. Right? It is an incredibly thin liquid. Right? It's a pale blue in colour. And what we do is we paint this onto galvanise. Right? And it is an etching primer, so it literally eats into the surface of the primer, to the substrate, sorry, right, creating a coat that subsequent paints will stick to. All right. With this particular product, it does need overpainting in 48 hours. All right, so that's your Morton solution, known on sites as T-wash, okay, for normally galvanised or perhaps aluminium. Now then, for a ferrous, a rusting metal, iron, steels, things like that. So we've got outside banisters, balustrades, gates, fences, things like that. We can have an environmentally friendly water-based equivalent. Other brands are available, of course, all right, which dries faster, environmentally more friendly, easy to wash your brushes out. All right, so some advantages there. All right. Or we've got good old-fashioned oil-based universal primer here, red oxide in this particular case for our metalwork. Again, it's harder wearing, more robust, but it does take longer to dry and is a little bit more environmentally unfriendly. So we have metal primers there, all right, for ferrous metals, whether it be water-based or oil-based. Again, the customer may specify what they prefer, or as a decorator, you may advise them, which would be better. This last primer here is an acrylic or water-based primer. And this one we use for wood. All right. There are oil-based wood primers, pink and white. All right. This just happens to be a white water-based primer we're using for wood, but there are others. So the primer goes on, all right, seals the surface, smooths out any pores to a degree, and gives the next coat something to adhere to. So the primer does a few jobs. Once we've got our substrate primed with the appropriate primer for that substrate, we can then go on with our middle coat. Now, if we're thinking about railings, woodwork, door architraves, what we would call trim, right, we would traditionally go on with an undercoat. Now, here we have the good old-fashioned oil-based undercoat with the same advantages and disadvantages as the primers. Right? Much harder wearing being oil-based. The disadvantage is it takes longer to dry and is more environmentally unfriendly. But then we have the water-based undercoat, and that will follow the primer. And do make sure if you've gone with a water-based primer, you would generally follow with a water-based undercoat. Once you've got your surfaces undercoated, you can then get your top coat on. Traditionally, inside and indeed on the outside of many buildings, this has been a gloss coat. Here we have the water-based and the oil-based equivalents, with the same advantages and disadvantages as previously mentioned. Not everybody will like a gloss finish, right? So what we can do, particularly on the inside, although exterior products are now becoming available, is for a mid-sheen finish, use this product called satin wood. All right? Again, you can get a water-based equivalent. All right? This just happens to be the oil-based, okay? But for something a bit more low luster, very popular in older houses, all right, we have an eggshell finish. Again, they are available in water-based. These samples just happen to be oil-based. Right, so for our walls and ceilings, we generally use a water-based paint called emulsion. Right, it comes in thousands of colours. We can apply it by brush or spray. On new builds, we generally use something, a non-vinyl emulsion. Everywhere else we tend to use a vinyl paint, just has a more plastic content in it, makes it more durable. So here we have vinyl matte, which tends to go over most surfaces, in particular ceilings. If we wanted something a little more scrubbable, all right, we could go for a silk paint. Now this has a very shiny surface, so it can be wiped. All right. If you wanted something wipeable without the high sheen level, we would then have the vinyl soft sheen or mid sheen, depending on the brand. Right, so these would be the emulsion paints available in thousands of colours for your ceiling. Right, so the last thing we're going to discuss is bare wood. More to the point, leaving the bare wood looking natural. So we can't paint over it, we need to either varnish it or stain it and then varnish it. So wood stain does what it says on the tin. It will stain the varnish, give it a nice even colour. It doesn't, however, protect it from the elements, okay, or for any spillages if it's inside. So for that, we would need a stain varnish. All right, that's a combination of a colourant within a varnish that will colour and protect the wood. So again, inside or outside, okay, this particular one is an exterior one, all right, but they can be used inside and out. So that particular one is a stain varnish, so it'll colour the wood and protect it. And then this next particular product is a clear varnish, all right? Both polyurethane, one is oil-based and one is our environmentally friendly water-based version, all right? So again, all this does, it is protects the wood. It will not stain it or colour it in any way, all right? So if you've got an uneven colouring on your wood, you will need to stain it first before sealing it with a varnish afterwards.